Hello and welcome to the AHRI video update. I'm Nicole Snyder, the Communications Coordinator at AHRI, and with me today is Guido Zucconi, our Assistant Vice President of Congressional Affairs. Today we're going to be talking about Congress, its current political climate, especially now that the continuing resolution has passed, and what that means for AHRI members. So Guido, why don't you start us off and tell us a little bit more about the continuing resolution?
Sure. So the CR, as the continuing resolution is a bit of a mouthful, passed sort of unexpectedly and rather rapidly just this week. They came to a deal over on the House side that quickly lined up over $1 billion for Zika prevention funding, about $500 million to help Louisiana, West Virginia, and Maryland and their flooding issues they had over the summer and early fall. And they were able to keep the government open, in other words, through December 9th. So this will be after the election. And it will be an entirely new dynamic, of course, after the election to see who's in the White House, what the Senate looks like, how much more narrow the Republican majority is in the House. So it'll be an interesting political calculation that will have to occur when they come back post-election.
So now that we know the government is all set to stay open, what is kind of Congress focusing on now?
Well, they are done for now. They've gone back to their districts and their states, respectively, to run for re-election, or to help their colleagues, or to help their respective presidential candidates, of course. In the meantime, those staff, the congressional staff, are still very much at work. There's still a number of pending issues. First and foremost, of course, the budget. Even though they just came up with a deal, now on December 9th is another looming deadline, so they'll have to come up with a way to keep the government funded and other things, including the Flint water issue that occurred in Michigan. They have a promise that they will find money to help that locality. So they'll have to negotiate those pieces longer term, and the staff will be working on that. They will also be working on an energy bill, of course, the big energy bill that AHRI has been all too involved in and has a number of parts and pieces in there. Staff is continuing to try to negotiate the quote-unquote easier pieces or the more consensus-oriented pieces, then leave the bigger items for the senators and members of the conference when they come back post-election. So work will continue. It's just going to be a little quieter. It's going to be a little more behind the scenes, certainly less and fewer press releases about anything.
So what can our members take away from all of this then, in terms of everything being up in the air right now?
Well, now is the time that you can actually get FaceTime with congressional staff. Their members or their bosses, respectively, are gone at home back in the districts and states. So now staff can actually get work done. They can meet with constituents. Even though it'll be quiet for the next 6 weeks around here, it will certainly be a busy time for staff to get everything lined up for the end of this year, and potentially even to see what they can introduce next year in the 115th Congress. House Republicans are already thinking of early policy decisions they can make and bills they can introduce relatively early in the 115th, so they have a good 2 years to work on, including things like regulatory reform or maybe even more long-term budget issues. So there are plenty of things that you can go and educate congressional staff on at this point.
Well, thanks so much for talking with us today, Guido.
It was great. Look forward to seeing everybody on Election Day.
And please stay tuned for the next AHRI video update.